Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of On the Trail. Short episodes answering common questions therapists have about websites, SEO, online marketing, all the things as they grow their private practices. I'm your host, Daniel, founder of Private Practice Elevation. Have you ever clicked on a website and it just sat there kind of like loading, where you have a website, you're trying to find information, you're clicking around, things aren't loading, things don't look correct, or maybe some elements are one on top of the other, and you struggle to find what you need. You struggle to find the information you're looking for. So most people, they don't spend that time on the website to see how this is going to turn out. They get frustrated and they leave, sometimes even a few seconds on the website only, and they bounce right off. I'm sure you've experienced this. This is something that I guess because of the work that I do in the field that I am in, I have very little tolerance for crappy websites. So, if I'm doing research or I'm trying to find maybe a new restaurant or something to take my wife on a date, I want to know what's it going to be like to be at this restaurant. I want to know what is the food look like. Yes, but mostly the ambiance, like the setting and the feeling. I want to picture myself being there. But so many websites you visit and it's hard to get that sense. It's hard to feel that trustworthiness. I know that's a small thing compared to finding a new therapist, but it's a similar situation. People want to build trust. People want to find the information they're looking for, especially when they're in a state of distress or life challenge, circumstances. They're trying to find help. And so we want to make sure that your website has the best foot forward, has that best presentation. We're not getting in the way of anything to help them find what they're looking for. If your website is slow, people are going to tend to leave before they even get to read about what you do. I'm sure you deliver a great service. I'm sure you have the training and the skills to do what you do. But if your website is loading slow and is a poor user experience, then people are going to bounce off. And so that's going to cost you clients. So what is user experience? I know that I have mentioned that term before on this podcast. And so user experience is simply how pleasant is it to be on your website? How pleasant is it for visitors to use your website? Can visitors find the information they're looking for quickly? Is it easy to read? Does it work well on a phone, iPad, desktop? Responsive is what that means. So it responds to whatever device you're on. Does it load quickly? That's a big one we were just talking about. So your website isn't just information. It's an entire experience. And sometimes it's the first experience that someone's going to have with your practice. And so you need to start thinking about your website as an extension of your brand, of who you are and how you treat people. And so we want to make sure that they have a great user experience when someone lands on your website. And so how does this relate to SEO? So Google's goal is to send people to websites that are helpful. It's to get folks from Google, from that search to the information they're looking for as quickly as possible. And if Google sends somebody to a website that doesn't make sense or is hard to use or is slow loading, then Google's not doing a good job. They're going to say, oh, we need to stop sending people to this website because it's slow. People are bouncing off of it. And so those are some of the things that we understand as we look into Google Analytics, which you should have connected to your website, because that's data that we can look at. We can see, are people engaged with your website, or are they bouncing off before they even read the information? Because there's some sort of disconnect between what they're looking for in Google or AI searches and what's on your website. And so like, oh, this doesn't make sense, or can't find what I'm looking for. I'm just going to close this website and bounce off. So if someone lands on your website, leaves immediately, Google notices that. And if people stay on your site and click around and engage in your website and they spend time on the website, Google notices that and Google's going to reward that. So website speed is part of how Google evaluates your website and places you in the rankings. So Google just wants to recommend websites that people actually enjoy using. And so you really need to be aware of the speed of your website and the user experience. Slow websites, people leave quickly. Google sees that experience, poor experience, rankings drop, fewer people find your website. So that's kind of what we're talking about in a nutshell. Website speed is going to affect your SEO. It's going to affect your first impressions. It's going to affect your trust. That's a big one. If somebody lands on your website, you're like, oh, I can't find what I'm looking for. This is a bad experience. They can't get their website right. How are they going to be when I sit in front of them with this life challenge that I'm facing? It's going to also affect your conversions into new inquiries, obviously, because if they're not staying and reading your content, they won't know what to do next or how to get in touch with you, book a consultation, fill out a form, reach out. And the speed of your website is also going to, just affect the overall performance of your website. So speed of your website is important, and it's going to affect all these things. And so you want to make sure that your website is a great experience. And page speed is something that's a little bit tricky because you can get pretty technical with it, and it really depends on the platform you're on. Just to kind of leave you with a little bit of a tip or a takeaway, that often the biggest culprit of your website speed is large images. Sometimes folks will upload images that maybe on the website, when you look on the screen, might actually only be like 400 pixels in space wide on a website. But if you look at the actual original file that was uploaded, it might be 2,000, 3,000 pixels. So your website is doing all this work to take this huge image and shrink it down to show it to people. And as you do that time after time after time, your website will start to slow down. And so that's just one thing to keep aware of. If you are uploading images to your website, crop them, resize them to the size that they're going to be displayed at. And you just have to be aware of some things. So Squarespace, there's not a lot you can really do about the performance of the website. And we've seen that over time as Squarespace sites get larger and larger, they often get slower and slower. And there's not a lot we can do about that other than making sure those images that we upload are correctly sized and compressed. There's tools out there, free websites, where you can compress a file, which basically means it will shrink the file size, the actual weight of that file, without reducing the quality of the image file. So you can do that. When it comes to WordPress sites, there's a ton of things we can do because we can get into the code. We can use plugins that are going to affect how code is loaded and styles are loaded and in what order they're loaded and all that sort of stuff. Another factor too, if you have a WordPress site, is your hosting. You got to make sure that you're using WordPress managed hosting, which is a hosting environment built specifically for optimization and speed of a WordPress site, as well as the security of a WordPress site. So those are some things that you can take care of yourself, that you can be aware of. Choosing a great host is a great place to start when you're concerned about the page speed of your website. So just to recap and land this plane, the speed of your website really impacts so much of the user experience for your potential clients. We want to make sure that from the very moment that someone lands on your website, you are taking care of them and they have a great experience with you and your brand in order to build trust and really increase conversions and new clients into your practice. So you could have a great looking website, but it might load slowly or it might be a poor user experience. So be aware of these things and, do what you can to improve that page speed, improve the user experience. And if you're not sure how your website is performing and you're not sure kind of where do I start with this and understand how am I ranking or what's hurting or helping my visibility online with Google and AI searches, that is why we have our SEO assessments. So we analyze your website, your SEO, your overall online performance and content, user experience, of course, and we give you clear recommendations on what to improve. So if you're interested in an SEO assessment, you can go to privatepracticeelevation.com/assessment. And if you're just curious about the work that we do, or you feel like, hey, it's time for me to level up my website, take care of this user experience with a new great design, as well as a great functioning WordPress website, I would love to hear from you. And so you can learn more and connect with a free consultation call at privatepracticeelevation.com/kickoff. Thanks so much for listening. Now go elevate your practice.